Hello, welcome to Co-Creating the New Earth Together, episode 2. I have a very special guest this week and a good personal friend, and I mean that, Karen Binks, who does shadow work, and she's helped me with mine quite a lot. So with no further ado, hello, Karen.
Hi, Jack, and how are you? Thank you for having me on today. I'm very excited.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So tell me, how did you get into shadow work? What got you interested?
Well, I'd just like to welcome everyone this evening for coming on and joining Jack and I. So, shadow work. Let's just cut a long story short. When I was at school, obviously, not obviously, but I was given the name dyslexia. I found it very hard to read and write. And so I didn't really fit into that community of schooling. And then as I got older, I went into the big wide world. I didn't know what job I wanted to do or where I wanted to fit in. And then later on, I decided to join brackets, the spirituality groups, and started looking into that and looking to where I belonged in that. And none of that made sense to me neither. Some of it was so hard to understand. I couldn't connect with it. And I was just getting more and more suppressed in myself. Obviously, there's loads of things that went on between, but it was actually making me feel less worthy because I didn't really understand what was going on. So I actually surrendered and just gave it all up. I gave up trying to be somebody or something or fit in. And I ended up just going and meeting a beautiful friend in a monastery, Brother Brian, and I got interconnected with him, and I met him in Ireland. And when I met him, he was talking about sitting in silence and being present. So the last 10 years, even though you probably can't believe this, Jack, I sat a long time in silence, which is hard to believe, but I did. But the joys of this is that I can actually keep the mouth shut when I need to. But the joys of this was that I started, when people say, do meditations, it makes you feel better, it gives you a peace of mind. I actually was coming out of meditations feeling more unsettled, because I suppose I had an expectation when I was stepping into the meditations that it was going to fix something. That's why I kept trying to fit in with different groups and belong somewhere. The thing is, when I was coming out of them, I actually was feeling a lot of emotions and feelings coming up, and if anything, a bit miserable. But as I carried on with it, I spoke to Brian about it. He said, you still need to find that stillness within yourself, which didn't make sense to me, but I still continued. I trusted him. Then all of a sudden, I was seeing patterns that were being replayed within me and were opening my eyes to understanding that actually there's something about this. There's something that I feel that I'm trying to continuously live up to, or something that maybe was said to me in the past that I was fighting, or all different things were coming up. In that, thank God, I was blessed in not being able to study any of this, any schooling whatsoever. I started seeing amazing patterns that I was replaying in my life and denying in my life. And I was so blessed to have Brother Brian, because he actually introduced me to verses that are in the Bible, not connecting it to any religion, but 2,000 years ago, these verses made sense right now in my presence, in my moment. Judge not, you shall not be judged. That was the big whammy for me. Treat thy neighbor as thyself. Why could I not do this? As that process went on, I started finding that nature became a complete interaction into my life. And I'd watch animals and the trees and just be the watcher of where I fitted into all around me. Actually, it was quite fascinating. And what I found was the expectations that I had upon myself that were placed through the hidden chambers, as I call them, which is quite exciting, isn't it? It actually makes it exciting thinking we're going into chambers and revealing. But the hidden chambers that I was unconscious of within me, that when they opened up, I became more aware in my surroundings and where I was in them surroundings. And then I came across an amazing study course on spiritual life coaching. And when I looked into that, it really showed me how this has been going on for centuries and centuries, but we have the Western world, I found, had come to deny it. So I came across Ho'oponopono, which is completely working on that vibration, which you know about that, Jack. You know about Ho'oponopono and then 4 sentences that came from Hawaiians, how powerful they are when connected to you, not just said, but connected. So now that came into it. And then Carl Jung. When I read some work of Carl Jung and how he sees it, he called it the shadow self, that actually brought huge excitement within bringing an understanding, keeping it simple, but an understanding of things that I had hidden and that I'd hidden them to survive as a child, feelings and emotions, to become an adult. It was a natural instinct that I had used as a very young age to actually survive by belonging to a community to becoming an adult. But as an adult now, things weren't sitting right. And that's where the battle inside now was happening within me. So what I saw in the world was wrong was actually what, not that it's wrong or right, but the battle that was going on within inside myself, Jack. And you know this, you know this, we've worked together. The battle that goes on inside actually is so clever in projecting that the battle is outside. And it's so amazing. That's how I got into it. And I must be the only one that wasn't riding on the word love and light. I was actually the one that was getting into the deep dark and actually saying, give me more, give me more. I need to see these patterns more.
We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We've got a couple of guests on, 3 guests on. Can you actually see the comments, Karen?
No, I can't see them. I don't know why. If anyone knows, do I go on co-creating or studio? All I've got a picture is you and I, Jack. So do you want to tell me what's going on?
Well, just a quick hello to Ina and Dion. So very welcome to the show.
Welcome, Ina and Dion.
And we have a comment from Kevin. I think that says Kevin. It's written so smallly, but I can't see it.
Hi, Kevin.
I've looked into myself. In fact, I went on an inner journey. I found the answer. And since then, no one can debunk it. It concerns heaven and God. What do you make of that?
Bring that one on. Does he want to elaborate on that in any way, that what it is for him, what he says concerning heaven and God?
Yeah. Do you want to say a little bit more about that, Kevin? What do those words actually mean to you?
Yeah. Because that's the secret of this.
Yeah. Any particular spiritual tradition or religion, or are you speaking more generally? We'd love to know that. Yeah. So while we're waiting for, I mean, it's not going to happen in real time. It never does.
No, is there any other questions that were asked and I can maybe elaborate on them?
I've got a couple of questions lined up for you a little bit later. The people have sent in. But I've got a couple of my own first. Why is
don't be so hard on me now, Jack.
Karen, why is it so important that we integrate our shadow and don't deny it? Hang on. We're doing a phone in today.
Answer the phone, Jack.
Oh, it's supposed to be a phone in. Very basic system of a phone in to use the phone because I haven't got it integrated with the system at all. And what I should have said is get them to phone in on WhatsApp or Messenger.
Yeah.
Because very often, whatever I do, swiping left to right or pressing it or whatever, it doesn't connect. So very sorry if anyone's trying to do that.
Send us a text. Send us a text. So, Jack, would you repeat that question for me again?
Yeah. Why is it important to integrate the shadow and not to deny it?
Actually, this probably it's actually one of the most important questions, because beforehand I was always looking outside and I wasn't actually taking responsibility of what's going on with inside. So for me, that would be is taking responsibility for our own feelings and emotions, our actions and reactions, and actually having a good look in there. By the way, this is not easy work, okay? Because if we have lived in complete denial of survival and we are unconscious of these feelings and emotions, and we only become aware of them when we've actually been triggered, Jack, it's very hard to make these changes. I see at the moment everybody has become an expert in putting quotes up about the shadows, but I need to ask people, are we really doing the work? Because when we do the work, all of us take responsibility, I believe, on ourselves and working deeper within ourselves, then we're not projecting it onto other people. So now we come to an understanding and compassion that we all have shadows. Nobody does not have shadows. Yeah. But what we have now is compassion and understanding that when we are triggered or feeling uncomfortable, we can embrace it instead of denying it. Or if somebody we're speaking to is feeling that way, we don't try to fix them. We sit with them and open up. So now we have communication. We don't have people trying to fix somebody that's not broken. If you're unconscious of this, then how can it be broken? It's part of you, you know? But if we become more conscious of our feelings and emotions and how they are controlling without us knowing unconsciously, then we will respect each other so much more. Would it fix the world? I don't think it's broken. I just think when we're unconscious, I know people are putting so many quotes out there, and it sort of annoys me in some way, because are you doing the work? Or are you just seeing something and it makes you feel better, or it makes you feel shit, so you're posting it? Because remember, everything you put out there has a ripple effect on your neighbor. Treat thy neighbor as thyself. So if something comes up or somebody's speaking to you and you feel that, and your head's rushing to tell the next story to outdo their story, then ask yourself, just ask. I mean, don't you deserve to ask yourself, what is it in me I need to see, before actually giving somebody else advice on something that maybe you need to hear your own advice? So the answer to that, Jack, which is an amazing question, is taking responsibility for yourself, you know, not trying to bypass it, just taking full responsibility and integrating all aspects of yourself without guilt, right, wrong, you know, negative, positive, just getting to understand. And that was really important for me, because I always was looking for somebody else to give me the answer.
There's a Carl Jung quote that I particularly like, and we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this off the top of my head. I think I've got it more or less right. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to control your life, and you will call it fate.
Amen. And do you know what, Jack? I just got written here. I wrote it in big billboards because then I don't have to keep putting my glasses on. The key to me is what I call this, because it was the key to finding Nemo, finding Karen, and it's awareness. And did you know, Jack, did you know that 75% of us is unconscious and 25%, only 25% is awareness? 75% of adults are not spiritually mature. Now, that is such a kick up my butt when I thought I was a very spiritual person. But if you're 75% unconscious, then you're not fully aware. So then, you know, who is responsible for that? You are.
Of course, coming up with statistics like that involves judgment, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do we judge who is and who is not? Who are we to judge who is and who is not spiritually mature?
Yeah, absolutely. And you do a lot on that, Jack, and it's really important to that. So really, let me give you a little example here of when you know you're judging. Usually we can see, Jack, our shadows and everybody that's listening in somebody else first, because we're unconscious of us. So when we're judging somebody else or something else outside of us, it's usually part of our shadow that's doing that judgment, and our ego self, okay, that protects us. And the reason we can see it in someone else, because it's easier. And if you're in denial of, and you're unconscious and in denial of these feelings, then the same thing. You're not going to own your own, but it's easier to see it in somebody else. But if you feel yourself, this is something that I always catch myself, you know, you have to be the watcher of yourself continuously. But if I feel I am drawn to judgment, I come back in and say, what is it in you that you need to see, Karen? Because you can see it in them. So what is it in you? What is it in me that I need to sit with? And do you know what? It sounds really easy, but I'm really good at bypassing it and justifying it. But the truth is, then I'm lying to myself again. So to me, it's not beneficial to lie to myself in doing that. And it makes me feel more depressed and suppressed in myself when I do that. To be truthful to myself, it hurts. But the truth is that when you start being able to be in that truth, there's a great alignment within your mind, body, and soul. Because who are you kidding? Who's your worst enemy? I am. Who's my best friend? I am. You know, so who am I kidding? Yeah.
All right. Kevin's replied.
Okay.
If I haven't lost it, because it was a couple back. No, just for that. Oh, hello, Mabi. I'm so glad you're here. It's lovely to have you here. I hope you'll come on with us one day, one week. That'd be fantastic. Mabi is my good friend in France.
Lovely.
Lovely lady. Right. Kevin has said, I saw God and continue to see God. So, yeah, we'd ask you, what do you mean by God? How do you see God? And how do you know what you're seeing is God? He goes on to say, I saw exactly how heaven comes about. Yeah. Wow. I would say define your terms. It would be great if you define your terms. Tell us exactly what you mean by God, what you mean by heaven. As every day passes, more evidence is revealed. Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's really interesting.
You're having an amazing experience.
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, I started my journey in 83. I suppose it was 1983. I don't think he means when he was 83. And finished in 1998.
Wow.
And like I said, and being fully responsible is correct. Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's really good input. Good input, yeah. But we'd like to know how
Brian, I'd love you.
And are you coming from a Christian point of view when you use those words, or are you coming
But
from the
that's
point of view
okay.
of a different,
When he
of a
says
different
that,
position?
I think, Jack, that's amazing, because when he says that, God can be what, you know, we all have our different images. Some call it energy, some call it God. Truth is, working with Brother Brian, we call this, I think it doesn't have to have a religious connection. I think it's a full connection he's made with him, his true divine self, and that's what we're searching. If that's what he has found on this lifetime, that peace and harmony and taking responsibility in that essence, that's amazing to me. That is profoundly amazing. I think it's great that he sees that he doesn't have to work on it every day. I've got to hold my hands up. Yeah, every day is a working day. I have to die of the belief system that I've created each day.
Brilliant,
But I think it's an amazing insight that he's shared with us, Jack. I love that. I'm so excited about that.
He shared with us that he belongs to no religion or spiritual cult. So
wonderful.
That's fantastic. You're
That's
taking
even
the bigger
better.
picture.
Well done, Kevin. Yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good to see the bigger picture, not to be linked to any particular.
Well, that's another link of wanting to belong. So he's really, I've got to say, that's just spectacular. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any more. Yeah, Brigitte, or maybe she's written in being able to respond. Yeah, that's what responsibility is. Yeah, being able to respond. That capacity to be responsible for ourselves. Fully, Karen, happens fully when we have engaged in our own personal trauma and lineage healing, as we then can reclaim. Absolutely, Mabie, absolutely. I know you've been on your own spiritual journey and you've grown a lot. I don't want to say too much on here publicly, obviously, but you told me about things. It's up to you how much you want to share with the others. But yeah, it's all a case of taking responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah.
And responsibility is the ability to respond. It's not blame. No one's asking.
No, it's not blame. And I think you actually write that in your book as well, don't you, Jack? I just want to, for people that may not understand what shadows are. So I would like to break that down if we've got time, Jack, just to make it make sense, instead of me going on about where I am, where I had to start, to be able to break it down to make sense what I was actually going through, so that I could connect the dots in my life. If you don't mind if I could share that.
No, absolutely.
So obviously at the beginning I was sharing that I couldn't read and write, and at school we're told to push on, you know, and do our best and things like that. But you always feel like there's something wrong with you, because obviously when it was found with me, they didn't really know how to deal with this. So I sort of felt always behind. And that would have been one of my biggest, I suppose I had lots of things that went on in my life, but this would have been one of my main things, of always wanting to be successful, but not knowing what successful was, because it was somebody else's concept, a con that I'd accepted. Because what like Kevin and the other lady that wrote in, their experiences are individual journeys where they have worked on themselves, and it's worked for them to come through. Okay. And if they're being true to themselves, that's the beginning. But when you're at school and you're a young age, so the shadow formed for me very, very young, which usually does happen then. And they are feelings and emotions that I would have taken on board through rejection, misunderstanding, and concepts that I felt I couldn't live up to, right? And with that situation then, I needed to get from childhood to adulthood. Okay. I took them feelings on personal, but they're only feelings. But they're not going to get me from A to B because they're not accepted, I felt, in society. And we weren't really open in speaking. Children today, I've got to say, these kids today are very openly spoken compared to what we were when we were younger. So I'm so delightful that the internet has brought that open speech, you know, that we communicate. But when I was younger, we didn't really have that open speech. So what do? Hide them, because I need to fit in to get to adulthood. I need to fit in. I need to follow and find my tribe and fit in. And I didn't care if that tribe was the bad tribe or the good tribe. I just needed to feel like I belonged in school. As I got older then, they just called me a bad teenager. I don't think I was that bad, but then I wasn't the mother of this teenager. The truth is, there was a rebellion starting to happen with me in there. So as a child, emotions from other people's concepts were projected onto me. They brought up a feeling in me and I suppressed them. Boom. Second half, I'm breaking this down simply. It goes so much more complex, but we don't have to do that tonight. Second half, teenager, rebel. I still need to fit in, but now I'm rebelling against society, right? So this rebellion is going on inside of me because these feelings are suppressed and they're getting strength. So now I'm rebelling. So I've taken them personal, and now I'm creating a persona, a mask deception to keep fitting in. So I find my tribe, I put my mask on, and I belong in there, right? Then we get to adulthood, and I have my children. And I'm actually going to share this depth with you because I've actually asked my children for forgiveness, and they totally forgive me. It's actually making me quite emotional. I remember working with Brother Brian, and everybody was talking about love and light and splashing it around. And this was irritating me to my bones. The word love and light, it was trembling in my bones. And I couldn't understand why this was happening. And I went to sit with Brother Brian and I said to him, Brian, what the heck is this word love? I said, it is thrown around. And I said, and I don't understand it. And he smiled and he said to me, but Karen, don't you unconditionally love your children? And I've got to say, it felt like the heavens fell on top of me and the earth fell up on me. And I just went bang. And I had to own it. And it was the first time, I've got to say, I spoke my unconditional truth. And I said, no, Brian, I conditionally love my children. If they're good, I reward. If they're bad, I take. If they live up to my expectations that I've placed upon myself, then I'll glorify them. If they don't, I'll judge them. So then that was the biggest realization, that not only was I doing it on the closest things in my life, but I was also doing it in my life outside and around me. So the love had got misled. I'd lost one of my shadows. Was the most beautifulest thing ever is what is love. I'd lost that innocence of what love is to me, suppressed it and redesigned it. And now it came with conditions. When I came into that realization, I just grew up overnight. So I stopped acting childish and I started taking full responsibility for my feelings and my emotions, because all they needed was a voice to be recognized. But I've got to say, when I said to my kids, I was unconscious when doing this. I didn't even realize I was doing it. So in that, then when I spoke to Brian, obviously a lot of guilt came up and hurt came up, because that's usually when a shadow comes up. After that, you come with all these other emotions. And how I dealt with them was just to forgive myself, because I actually didn't know what I was doing. I actually didn't. And that was starting to break the patterns of, what else don't I know I'm doing? You know, what else am I unconscious of? And owning that. It was painful, but it was the first time I felt like I was a mature spiritual adult, if you want to call that. I took responsibility.
We've got some more comments here from Brigitte, who's also called Maybe. That's her nickname. So before I read these out, I just want to set the scene a little bit. Last year, up until around about April, wasn't it? I think I was very, very stuck in my own life, and Karen here did some wonderful shadow work with me, and Brigitte did some wonderful inner child work with me, and as a result, I've been on a bit of a roller coaster the last 9, 10 months, whatever, 12 months, whatever it's been, 11 months, that has resulted in the biggest growth of my life. So I owe both of you two beautiful, beautiful souls everything. I really do. So I just want to say that first. Now, there's a couple of comments here from Brigitte. Frozen parts of ourselves, enabling us then to engage more fully in relationships. Now, I know what you mean there, maybe. I really do. I mean, yeah, we're on the same page there. Do you want to comment on that, Karen?
I can't quite hear what the question is.
Right. Frozen parts of ourselves. So filling in the gaps. When they're unfrozen, it enables us to engage more fully in relationships.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So is she calling them the shadow self frozen parts?
I think so.
Okay. So I totally agree what she's saying, but the frozen part of it, they're not frozen. They're actually very, very active. It's actually becoming aware of them parts that we are hiding or suppressing, because it's not actually, it's seen as not acceptable. It's actually more acceptable to lose your head so that everyone can be triggered and we can all have a big row. The truth is, if these parts of ourselves are actually not frozen in time, they're actually continuously working every day without us being unconscious, and out of us being conscious of them. And believe it or not, when I can understand what your friend's saying, when becoming conscious, aware of these emotions, which is not an easy job. I am not going to plant this like we're going to be dancing through tulips. We're going to have to dig some, can I say the word, shit first, to actually use it as fertilizer to help them roses grow. That's the truth. And going into that, this is how I see it. You are bringing that awareness that now you can take responsibility. When you are not aware, you project, and you're unconscious of doing this, or maybe you're conscious and you're doing it facetiously to protect. You're trying to protect it. And as an adult, you don't need to now. So let's look at a battery. We have, the world has gone positive and negative, okay? Let's be positive. Let's get to the higher vibration. This is okay. But unless you break that step by step down so that people, because of me being dyslexic, it has to be brought down to a level where I can feel it and be it and grow in it. So I saw this. I saw a battery, and a battery has two ends. It has a positive and a negative. Can you see me hands? That doesn't even look like a battery.
We can see your hand. Yeah, yeah.
Actually, watch this.
It's going to get exciting now, folks.
I've got a battery. Can you believe that? Oh, and I didn't plant that there, by the way. I don't even know why it's there. But
No, it's
anyhow,
definitely a battery,
look
not a
what I
plant.
have. I have a battery. And one end's positive and one end's negative. This battery, fact, cannot work without both of them. Fact. A plug cannot work without the opposite. Fact. This battery needs a positive and what we've started calling negative to create a chemical reaction here that creates the power. So if you're trying to get rid of the negative, as you're calling it, it's not going to run. The balance is in the center of not being attached to one or the other. This was such a profound moment for me because it makes sense. And then when they connect, when both of them connect awareness, that is the power. That is the chemical reaction within your body of becoming fully aware. Living denial of one is spiritual bypassing. It is bypassing the part that is actually zupping your power. Bring the two together, create the chemical reaction, call it maturity or awakening or whatever you want to call it. But they both need to happen. So if you look at a plug, we have earth and grounding, don't we? So call that positive and negative. But we also have a neutral. Be the neutral and allow all to come up of your feelings without trying to push them back down, without judgment, without negative or positive. Allow it. Allow it. That's where the power is. In bringing that power together to create the chemical reaction in your body. So here I am sitting talking to you, Jack. This is my worstest fear. My body is saying, don't do it. You can't do it, Karen. You're not good enough. Everything that was told to me as a child, you'll be nothing, Karen. It's not that I want to be something now, and it's not that I'm nothing. I'm just embracing that energy and allowing it to be the light of who I am and trusting it. Whew. Pow.
Yeah. I just want to say, I don't want to give too much away personally, as you can appreciate. But up until this time last year, I was very stuck and very frozen. I was living comfortably numb. I just given up feeling. And I think that's what Brigitte meant when she was talking about frozen parts of ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. I can understand that saying, but I wanted to break it down what other people might understand it too.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And the two of you unfroze me. So, I owe you so much for that. So thank you both. We've got some questions if you're interested.
More questions?
We've got more questions. People have been sending in questions.
Woo! Don't make them too hard, everybody.
People have been texting in questions. So let's just see. People who couldn't actually come on the show, they've texted in questions. Jackie asks, she says she's tried many things and done many courses, but she still feels that change does not come. Can you help me to understand that, Karen?
I can. So that would have been, sorry, what was her name? Jackie?
Jackie, yeah.
Jackie, that would have been a big thing for me. So I suppose I dived into self-help books and meditation courses and things like that. And they would work for a while. And then I would start feeling guilty because I couldn't keep it up, or I would start self-sabotaging, what I can see now as self-sabotaging, because I didn't feel good enough, because when I went to these groups, everybody looked great and happy, and I just wasn't getting it. I get it maybe for a while, and then it just wasn't solid enough to keep me strong enough to keep going. And what that was that it can be called a couple of things now. What I was doing, I'm going to use it as myself. If it's pulling at you, maybe you can ask yourself this question. But what I was doing was what I've just learned, what I learned a few years ago about is spiritual bypassing. So what I was trying to do was always find the feel good factor. And then that's denying yourself. So if you want to see it like the ego is protecting the quiet parts, the persona, the projection of what I want the world thinking, it's hiding there. So what I've done now is actually given ego another job to try and keep me smiling and make me feel positive. So you remember the battery, Jackie, of the positive and negative. There's none of them charges that can work on their own. They have to come together to create that chemical reaction. If you're unconscious of this or not aware that this is the balance that that's needed in our lives, then you're going to continuously be searching here. And let me tell you, Jack, it's so not there. You are the key to what you are searching. You have the key. It's just that I think sometimes we're very scared. Obviously, when I met Brother Brian and we stepped into that time where I had to own and take responsibility of the word conditioned love instead of unconditional love, that was huge for me. That was me taking responsibility for my feelings and emotions. So what you're trying to do, and I get many people that come to me with the same thing, because I say to them, okay, well, we're going through this. Can we let go of all the positive, negative, and self-help books? I said, I just need you to be true to yourself for 4 weeks while I'm here with you, being with you, okay? And that I'm there continuously through this work with them. Because it is bypassing another way of denying that brackets negative energy, okay? I'm using brackets on this because I really need people to see this. Let me give you another example. Have we got time, Jack?
Yeah, we've got all the time in the world. I'm happy to go over time.
Okay.
I'm happy to give you as much time as you want.
This is an insight that I got one day when I was meditating, and I think it'll help people to see it more simply. Remember, Jack, I have broke this down to make it understandable, to make it simple. Yeah, I'm not going to say we need to travel to Timbuktu and back and the fifth dimension further. Let's work out this dimension while we're on it and take responsibility in this and embrace it. So when a little child is born, it looks at his hands. And it looks at its hand and it doesn't know it's a hand. It just sees this movement. That's all it is. And it's fascinated, and it can sit and watch its hands for ages. It's just watching. It's just being the watcher, and it watches it move, and it watches. And then Mammy comes along and says, oh, look, that's your hand, pet. Now it becomes solid. It becomes heavy. It's got weight. It's got feelings. It's got connection. It's the same with the feelings. When the feeling is projected and the child takes it personal, it's just a feeling. But as the child gets older, it gets a name like hurt, jealousy, fear, gets all these labels. And when that happens, it becomes solid. So now there's a belief that that's what you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And when you believe that, then, do you know what I mean? The child didn't need to know that. When you believe that, then you become the story. So now that is the projection of who you are, okay? When I sit now with a feeling when it comes up, because it's an ongoing journey for me, I allow it to be present. So I might give it a name, or something might happen and it triggers this emotion or feeling, and I allow it to be, okay? And I allow the story to replay, and I realize, you know, I can watch the story and then stop being attached to it and come into it. And then I can let go of the story and then the word and just allow it to, and become present and aware in that. And your mind will do everything to start reeling out more and more stories. But when you do that, it actually burns itself out. When I say it doesn't, when I say it disappears, it's not like, you know, it goes off into the universe or anything. The next time it happens, it doesn't attack you as much. And then the next time happens, it does. And then the next time, like today, sitting with you, Jack, it walks beside you. Do you know what I mean? It becomes your strength in being able to engage in, like what I'm doing with you, from being told that I can be nothing and you are nothing. It's not that I'm looking to be something, but I'm present in the feelings and emotions that are going on, but they're actually part of the chemical reaction of making it so simple in being here in the presence with you. That probably sounds really confusing, but it's hard to explain unless you're experiencing, because each individual has an individual journey and a way of finding their way. That's my way, and I encourage people to investigate. I'm only somebody that guides. I'm not a teacher, because a teacher will take you to the level of their understanding. I need to go beyond the level of my understanding, that I can assist the person and what they're feeling to go into their release in whatever way they can find it. You know, there's actually not a cookbook on this one, I'm afraid.
I remember you telling me when I was going through some very painful experiences, not to label them, just to observe them as they pass through.
Yes, exactly.
And I found that very helpful.
So to answer Jackie's question, she could be, I'm not saying you are, Jackie, but you could be bypassing your golden nuggets, as Kaylee O'Dowd calls them, the golden nuggets that are hidden. So remember, my golden nugget was love. Okay, there's a lot of fear and upsetment down there too, but one of them was love. But all of them are, when brought together, and you become not attached or to the label, the story, positive or negative, when you actually just become and allow it to be, they're all golden nuggets, you know. They're all amazing golden nuggets. Yeah.
Right, we've got
Am I talking too much?
That's what you're here for. Right. We've got a question here from Noel. What difference does it make to work with the past and with the shadows? What difference does it make?
Okay. Let me just answer this right, the best I can. What difference does it make? God, it's no good me saying it makes so much difference, because you have to experience it to believe it. So what difference you could physically, mentally and spiritually feel is that when we're triggered and we respond in trying to defend ourselves, we're handing over our power. The difference of being unconscious of the little war that's going on inside of you and being conscious of it. I just want to answer this right. That's why I'm just pausing so that I can get this right. Is this, it's taking back your power. When we are, so if you have two people having a conversation, and we've all done it, and don't sit there and say we don't. We listen to the person who's talking first, and it can trigger you, and then all of a sudden they're still talking, but you have actually switched off and you're rummaging through your stuff to find a better story. And just before they finish, you come in with your story and say, well, I know how that feels, right? And off you go with your story. And as you're telling your story, they're rummaging through their things. Get it? To find the next story. And before you know it, you're actually telling stories, riding on triggers, okay? It can be the same if you're with somebody and they say something nasty to you and you take it personal. If you take it personal, then you trigger. And the first thing you do is speak back to defend. And when you do that, it takes so much energy. You're just handing it all over. Yeah? Than it does to actually not take it personal and be very present in it and have complete compassion for the person that's speaking. To actually keep being on defense is always handing over your power. To actually think and keep them feelings of feeling guilty and fear takes so much more hard work, because you're personally attacking yourself, and then you're personally projecting your power and your personal feelings onto someone else. To actually be able to be aware of your shadows and not attached to to other people's ways of going on, is actually taking back your power. To not, when you feel unhappy, to not project that onto somebody else. You know, misery keeps misery company, is not to project it, but to actually sit in it is taking back your power. So, and when I say power, it's not about being strong in that. It's this inner silence that doesn't waver. It literally just sits in between the negative and positive with no attachment. I hope that answers Noel's question.
I hope that's brilliant. A brilliant answer. Andrea has asked a question that you've already touched upon, but she wants you to go into more details. I've heard people saying about spiritual bypassing. Please, would you have time to speak about this? Thank you, Karen.
Okay. So I did touch on that a little bit. Is it Andrea? Andrea, I did touch on a little bit on that, but spiritual bypassing is when you're trying to do something that we class as positive. So you may go up to somebody and you're feeling pretty crappy, and you're telling them that you feel pretty crappy, and you're speaking about it, and they'll say, just try and look on the bright side. And then you walk away feeling even guiltier. But really, that's because you feel that there's something wrong with you, okay? But really, when people are saying that to you, it can be for two reasons. One, they're scared, they're protecting their triggers, so they're trying to override it by saying, you know, I'm a positive person, so look on the bright side. Or two,
Right,
I'm going to say it. Or two, you're talking to the wrong person.
Okay.
So if you are going and doing self-help books and it's not working for you because you keep projecting, triggering, don't feel guilty about it, because we even me today, even monks and Buddhas still have an ego self that they have to sit with.
Yeah.
The thing is, by bypassing them, you're denying yourself of knowing the truth of why you can't make them changes in your life. And people saying, be positive. Just when you say that, before you put that message out to people, look on the bright side, be grateful. before you give that information to somebody else, just check in with yourself that that you're not bypassing something, and trying not to trigger yourself by the story that the other person. Sometimes I think, Jack, instead of saying something like that to people, or say you should read this book because that makes you feel guilty if you don't read it, or you should do this, that makes you absolutely bonkers in the head guilty if you don't do it. And my kids would actually say, she does that, she did that a lot to us, right? They would own that. Instead of doing that, just sit and listen to them and allow them to express what's going on in their lives without you attaching personally if it's negative or positive, or saying they're very negative than people or they're very positive than people. Without attaching to any of that, Jackie, I tell you the best thing to do is just listen and let them. Believe it or not, sometimes we just need to air things out. And when we're doing it with no judgment, we actually start hearing our own words. And when we actually hear our own words, we actually get the ha-ha moments. And when we get the ha-ha moments, we've actually connected to awareness of our shadows. I think that's quite magnificent.
Right, now we've got a comment here on screen. Somebody's had a session with you today. Francis had a session today with Karen. My God, she's good. Genuine healing and no BS. I think that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Good woman. And who was that? Was it
somebody called Francis?
Ah, bless her. Yeah.
Well, Francis is a boy or a girl, but yeah, Francis.
Girl.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you. Yeah. Right. Anna's written in. Before we get on to Anna, we've got another comment here. Oh yeah, Kevin's just saying goodbye. So yeah.
Oh, Kevin, thank you very much, Kevin.
Thanks for coming on, Kevin, and sharing.
Thank you.
Hope we'll see you again another week. We have different guests on every week, so namaste. Right.
Bye, Kevin.
Anna, I have read on your page a quote that you have written. Quite you're in trouble now.
Yeah, go on.
I believe in understanding your old beliefs before creating a new one is the key to taking back your power. What does that really mean? And why are we told to manifest our dreams, which is future tense? Thank you, Karen, for the opportunity to ask questions, as sometimes I find it really hard to understand. What is a shadow?
Oh, God.
So that's Anna. Do you want me to read all that again, or did you get it?
No, let's go. So I know the quote that she's talking about. Sorry, what's her name? Anna.
Anna, yeah.
Hi, Anna. I hope you get to see this. Or did you write it in today?
She wrote it in, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, Anna. So when I was doing the searching, I was asked to put all the pictures on a board that I wanted to manifest in my life in the future. Okay, so this is before I started the work on a deeper understanding of myself, the shadows. So I would do this, but each day that board would change. So if I put a pink sofa up, I might want a blue one in 2 days later. Do you know what I mean? What I'm saying is that when I was actually putting things up, what I realized that I was trying to manifest money, material aspects. And I'm not saying, by the way, anything is wrong with this. But what I come to realize, it never worked. Anyhow, I just got to say it never worked for me. But I was meditating one day and I was sitting there and I burst out laughing when I come out of meditation. And I said, I don't understand why this manifestation isn't working for me. And as I was coming out of the manifestation, out of the meditation, I heard these words saying, be careful what you wish for. It may be fault of how you receive it. I actually didn't know what that really meant at that moment. But as I went through my self-discovery and shadow work, I realized what I was manifesting was a need to fulfill, to try and fulfill myself, right? To fulfill the emptiness that I was feeling from what I was feeling empty and lonely about. So it was a material concept of fulfilling Karen. Okay. Then I realized when I looked into it, and was you going to find this? Anna, was it? Or Jack? I can't remember what name it was. When
Anna,
I actually when I actually came to this point, right, of realizing this was what it was doing, I notice even now when people are manifesting something, you can see when it's coming from there, because they're actually manifesting things to fulfill, but then they're continuously trying to fulfill it, right?
Yeah.
When I am wanting to manifest, I go back first to have a look why I'm looking for this thing in future tense. That's right, yeah? So I always go back. People say, oh, don't go back, push forward. This to me wouldn't make sense, because if you're unconscious of what's holding you back, then, and you're unconscious that that's actually working in your everyday, then you're unconscious that what you're manifesting then feelings into that manifestation. So some people try and manifest a partner, and they want a partner, and they want this and they want that, and blah blah blah. Why do you want that in a partner? What is it in you that you feel is missing in you that you're looking for in somebody else? Because that fulfillment isn't going to last. It has to come. Where have you gone, Jack? It has to come from you. I hope that answers. Does that answer, Jack?
I think that's brilliant. Now we've got another comment I just want to read out quickly. I have to read forward, go forward to read this.
That's okay.
Comment.
You're looking good, Jack. Come forward. Come forward, Jack.
I need glasses, but there you go. Yeah, Ina has said, learning a lot tonight. Thank you for this information, especially about how we are triggered and how it would be wonderful if I could not let this affect me, because when I am triggered, I find it hard to let go. Yeah, before you answer that, Karen, I just want to say that there's a video on this channel, on my video channel, about triggering that you might find interesting. So
yeah.
What do you make of that, Karen?
Well, the triggers are obviously the emotions. So we have a persona that protects us and has a face for the planet outside of us. And then we have these unconscious feelings in here. And what we've done is learned how to suppress them because we feel like they're not acceptable. And when somebody touches on one of them, they come up.
There's it go.
And I find, well, they actually come up a bit more aggressive than that. And I actually find when this happens, did you know this? Is it Elena? Did you know that when you trigger
Ina.
and a shadow comes up, that you're actually unconscious at that moment and it's just offloading, right? And you don't actually become aware until the minute that it's over, and then you go, oh, why did I say that?
I've done that a few times, yeah.
But when it happens, do you notice it just comes full speed ahead, but you're actually not in it? It's not till the split second afterwards that you go, well, actually, I used to go, well, that was their fault.
Yeah,
Then you go home and you can't let it go. And then you'll go, why did I say that? Or why did I say this? Or why? And now you're feeling guilty. Okay. That is showing you the shadow self. So when you're triggered, come back in. I call it intimacy with yourself. Into me, I see. Allow yourself to go away from the story of what's triggered and step into the feeling that was triggered and allow it to become present so that you can come aware. That will help you in the awareness of when it keeps happening, that you can see it before it actually leaps out, and then afterwards having that after effect.
Mm-hmm. The way I describe it in the video on this channel that I was mentioning, I made a couple of months ago, is we have broken parts inside of us, damaged parts inside of us. And subconsciously, we know when we're ready to heal those parts. And when we're triggered, that's those damaged parts coming up to be healed, to be acknowledged and healed.
Yeah.
So the trick is not to blame whoever or whatever has triggered you for the way you're feeling, but to accept it as a sign from your own subconscious that you're now ready to heal that part of yourself, and be grateful for it.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
I think yeah. I think we're triggering everybody. I think we're triggering everybody here. So first of all, Jack, I want to say that I wouldn't call them broken parts. I would call them parts of misunderstanding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because I don't think we are broken, and we're very hard on ourselves anyhow. And the lady there's just said it's very hard to be a saint. Don't try to be one. Just be real to you and be true to you, because to try and be a saint is an expectation of how you should behave or how you should perceive yourself to the public. If someone is being uncomfortably rude to you, you know, maybe sometimes you have to say, stop, you know, I'm actually not going to take this. What I'm saying, if it keeps replaying on you each day, then ask yourself why this is replaying, because it's actually, that's what the trigger is. It's actually happened years ago, why it's happening now. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
I don't believe you can accept people being disrespectful, and I don't believe we have to live up to anyone's expectation of being a saint or a demon. I believe that where you are is perfect, and every time you connect with yourself and in an understanding of your own feelings and emotions, we can't understand everybody else's. We can only work with what we have and trust in that. I believe, because believe it or not, I would still have my triggers. I still work on my shadows. I still work with my ego. I don't want to be a saint because I have to live up to that expectation, but I don't want to be a demon neither and project my emotions onto somebody else. I just want to be truthful to me, and that's really important, because I feel like I was misled so many times over my life from people that didn't take responsibility for their actions and their feelings and emotions. So the only way I can change that is take responsibility for mine, and it's not easy. I'm going to say there's no saint or demon, no wrong or right, no, you know, what it is finding you in what's happening. You're not broken, you're not negative, you know, you're just trying to find what works for you. And unless I work with people on one-to-one, I can't actually say what's for you. What works for me may not work for you, but there is a way that will allow you to subconsciously open your unconscious emotions and heal. There is a way, but remember, the guardians of the subconscious is your ego. So we have to deter them, make friends with them, and get through into the subconscious and then the unconscious. So it's like a big wee journey. So that's something I really want to point out. You cannot actually force your shadows to come up. It's only when you're triggered or something happens that you can see them. In you being aware that you can see them is the beginning, And then if you could take judgment of where that trigger came from and bring it back to you, is past the start line. That's the beginning. Yeah.
So
don't be hard on yourselves.
Do you think it's important to go back in time and try to find out the first time that you felt, in Ina's case, disrespected and unheard, or whatever it happens to be in other people's lives, whatever's triggering you?
Okay, I've wrote something here that Will Smith said, okay? It is not our fault what happened to us. I love this quote, right? But it is our responsibility to deal with the hurt that's left behind. We cannot change how them feelings and emotions were projected onto us. We cannot change that. But we can be responsible for the change of how them feelings and emotions in our body now are controlling our lives. And I've got so much compassion. I've got to say thank you for writing in there, because it is, people are writing these quotes on the internet like this is easy. This is not an easy journey.
It's not easy, no.
But if you can trust yourself and have somebody that you can trust, don't just get anybody to assist you through this work, but can trust and help you to come to your highest understanding that you can actually work it yourself, then there's a beginning. Yeah, there's a beginning. And do you know what? You can fall over 100 times, but the last time you fall over, you'll get up and say, I've done this too many times now, and I see where it's from, and I ain't going to carry somebody else's stuff. I am going to walk in my own and work it. It's just, it's that point. Yeah. Woo!
Right. Well, we're getting to the end. We've gone a quarter of an hour. We've gone nearly half an hour over, but we're not finished yet. So if you can hang on a bit longer.
I'm going to charge you now, Jack.
There's so much great content coming through here, Karen. You're helping so many people, not just the people that are live, but the people who watch the replay for weeks and months. This is going to be up forever. So let's talk just a little bit in closing about how people can work with you and what work you actually do. Now you're based in Kells, near Kells, aren't you? In the Republic of Ireland.
Yes, I am. Yeah, but I actually, Jack, I work on the phone. You're very welcome. Yeah. You're very welcome. Thank you. I work over the phone on one-to-ones. That's over 5 weeks, and then they can come into the groups that I have and continue the work if they choose. I also have started doing little workshops, and these workshops aren't to actually go in deep, right? These workshops are to make sense of where they start. So it's just making sense of them so that people, when they leave the workshop, they can go further in doing the one-to-ones, or they've got some starting point and they're not feeling as aggressive or hurtful towards themselves as much when they leave. So they can do it that way. They can come onto I do advertise when I'm doing them, but I have been asked in April, maybe you'll help me set this up, Jack, I haven't done it before, to actually do a live mini workshop that I'm doing in Ireland, so that anybody, that can't come to Ireland, I have been asked to go to England, but that's not going to happen in the very near future, because I'm only getting used to actually working with a group of people, because I'm used to working one-to-one. So maybe you can help me with that, Jack. And if you just go onto my page, Karen Binks, or my business page, which is linked with that, where I put all my little workshops on what's going on, is KeyTooMe, Seeker of Truth.
Yeah,
and even I just want to say, even if you're stuck on something, if you want to give Jack or myself a message, because Jack will pass it on to me, you know, if you want to text through this, I will get back to you, because the one thing that's really important is for you to know that you're not alone. You're just not alone on this, and that anyone that is, I'd rather sit with the grumpy man, Jack, because you know where you stand.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, always
Okay,
smiling at me. Then I'm wondering, what are they smiling at? Yeah. No, I'm only joking.
I know.
He
You
knows
love
I
me,
call him
really.
that.
I know you love me, really.
I'd rather sit with somebody that is being true to their feelings and being in that place than somebody that is disguising them, and that I feel they're hurt, that they have to put on this persona to hide their true identity of who they are. Do you know what I mean? Their true selves. So please do send us a text. I mean, we'll be there for you. Let's do this. And then I'm also starting up a little group once a month, and Jack's going to help me set that up, and he doesn't know that one yet. And it's going to be a little WhatsApp group that we can all communicate. I will not be doing deep work there, but I will every other week be doing a video talk, or once a week a video talk, where we can interconnect, and wherever you are, I can show you little patterns. So it won't be the deep inset work, it'll be the more surface cleaning, that you can actually go a little deeper yourselves.
Great. Yeah.
How's that?
No, we've just got a short video to play, haven't we, of your group workshops.
And I want to say to Kaylee O'Dowd, she came to the workshop and she placed this video together for me. So thank you, Kaylee.
Okay, well, there's more to it now, because I've added bits to it as well. So
I hope it's good, Jack.
I will just say that your voice is out of sync with your lips, but I can't do anything about that. All right, hang on.
Denial. Denial. The true energy to keep faith. Escaping the ties that bound you to your lies. The shadows from the past, unconsciously present. All energy has the power to create form. Wisdom buried in the shadows of denial. I do not deny my shadows. I embrace them. Denial.
Okay. I thought you were going again then, Jack.
It nearly ran again.
That actually brought tears to my eyes. I want to thank Kelly O'Dowd as well for that video. She's done the workshop and has been working with me, like yourself, Jack, for a couple of years, and she does videos like that, video and editing. Yeah, so thanks, Jack, and thanks for interacting that together. Brilliant.
Yeah. So I'll put all your links below in the description. And Brigitte, if you're still on, because I owe you a huge debt of thanks as well, I'm going to put your details down below so people can contact you if you're still on. Well, if you're not still on, I'm still going to do it.
Thank you, Dion. Amazing. Absolutely love this. Amazing.
I mean, I owe you both so much because you've changed my life, and I'm a new man because of the work I've done with Karen and the work I've done with Brigitte. So yeah, can't say more than that, can I?
Job well done.
Well, thanks ever so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me. And just as well, Jack, before we go, we won't do the meditation now, but you know what we'll do? If anybody wants to come onto my free meditations, they're usually on a Tuesday or Wednesday night on Karen Binks on Facebook. And they're free, and they're usually about 8 o'clock in the evening. And I send out healing with that as well when I'm doing them meditations.
Yep. And if you go on to Karen's KeyTooMe, that's two with two O's because she can't spell.
Jack.
KeyTooMe, T-O-O me. She advertises or announces all her free meditations on there, so be in the loop. I'll put the links
thank you,
below.
Jack.
I'll put all the links to you below. So again, so thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been absolutely
Jack,
wonderful.
thank you for having me. You've just actually, that was extraordinary. I've got to say it was extraordinary. Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity, and it's given me great strength to do it again. Yeah.
I think we could go on for another hour and a half, couldn't we? So perhaps you'll come on again one time.
Let's do that. Let's do that. We can ask people to bring questions to us, and we'll do another one on the questions.
Yeah.
And I just got to thank everybody for writing in their questions today. And if you know anybody that will benefit from this, please share this video with them, because we are all in this together. We're not doing this alone. It feels lonely when you're trying to do it on your own, but you're not on your own. Believe me, you're not.
Wonderful. It's time to say good night to everybody. Thank you all for coming on, especially those who've interacted. That's great. We appreciate that very much. It's better than talking to ourselves. We love interaction.
Oh, well, we usually do that anyhow.
I've done whole shows just talking to myself, but that's another story.
Well, you've rang me and you're still talking to yourself, Jack. I just put you in the other room.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Namaste.
God bless, Jack. God bless everybody.